Hello everyone, N9, welcome back to my channel. I hope you guys had a great first week back at school or a great week in your life in general. I hope you had a great week. About a month ago, I uploaded a video on this channel where I discussed Black Lives Matter in sports. And if you haven't seen it, feel free to check it out. In that video, I actually talk about how about 4 years ago, Colin Kaepernick sat for the national anthem to protest police brutality. And exactly 4 years later, on August 26, 2020, was when the NBA led a strike. They striked a game of the playoffs to also protest police brutality. 3 days before the NBA strike, a 29-year-old man named Jacob Blake was shot 7 times in the back by police in front of his 4 kids, and they were celebrating his son's birthday. On August 24th, after the Milwaukee Bucks win over the Orlando Magic, Bucks guard George Hill felt that it was inappropriate to celebrate. He had seen the video of what had happened to Jacob Blake that same morning. This is what he said in an interview.
I mean, we can't do anything. First of all, we shouldn't even came to this damn place, to be honest. I think coming here just took all the focal points off of what the issues are.
On August 25th, after the LA Clippers won, Clippers head coach Doc Rivers said in an emotional speech how Black Americans were continuing to be treated in America.
It's amazing to me why we keep loving this country and this country does not love us back. And it's really so sad. Like, I should just be a coach. And it's so often reminded of my color. You know, it's just really sad. We got to do better.
According to Yahoo Sports, this same night, an assembly was organized by players who were emotionally traumatized by the recent events and the video of the recent shooting. Before the meeting, players had reached out to the NBA Players Executive Committee to share how they were not in the right frame of mind to be playing during this time. They were also seeking guidance on the logistics of potentially boycotting games. On August 26th, the Milwaukee Bucks were not on the court at the start of Game 5.
Nobody's on the floor. It's very empty here in the arena, but I want to take you back. So the Orlando Magic, they came out per normal. They spent about 15 minutes warming up on the floor. Meanwhile, the Bucks never took the floor. So things got a little bit confusing because nobody understood why they weren't taking the floor. I reached out to the Bucks PR. I asked them for any kind of update, but at this point, they're not speaking. They're not letting us know what's going on.
3 other playoff games were scheduled to happen that day. They were also postponed for the same reason. The WNBA, the MLB, and the MLS also postponed their games for that day. Here's a statement that the Bucks collectively made.
The past 4 months have shed a light on the ongoing racial injustices facing our African American community. Citizens around the country have used their voices and platforms to speak out against these wrongdoings. Over the last few days in our home state of Wisconsin, we've seen the horrendous video of Jacob Blake being shot in the back 7 times by a police officer in Kenosha, and the additional shooting of protesters. Despite the overwhelming plea for change, there has been no action, so our focus today cannot be on basketball.
When we take the court and represent Milwaukee and Wisconsin, we are expected to play at a high level, give maximum effort, and hold each other accountable. We hold ourselves to that standard, and in this moment, we are demanding the same from lawmakers and law enforcement. We are calling for justice for Jacob Blake and demand the officers be held accountable. For this to occur, it is imperative for the Wisconsin State Legislature to reconvene after months of inaction and take up meaningful measures to address issues of police accountability, brutality, and criminal justice reform. We encourage all citizens to educate themselves, take peaceful and responsible action, and remember to vote on November 3rd on behalf of the Milwaukee Bucks.
If you were scrolling through sports media on Twitter the day that the NBA strike was happening, you could look through the comments for maybe 0.2 seconds and you would find some very, very angry people. A lot of these people were asking, and not all these, what these questions I'm about to say are people who are angry. Some were just curious. People asking why, what is sitting a few games going to do? When did sports and politics become a thing? And stuff of that nature. And so I am very happy that I have some answers. If you are watching this video and you're one of those people, congratulations, here you are. The modern Olympics began in 1896. In 1904, George Poage was the first Black American to win a medal in the Olympics. Almost 50 years before the civil rights movement even happened. The civil rights movement obviously had many goals, but one of them was, of course, to allow Black Americans to be given the full right to vote without restrictions. And it wasn't until 1965 that the Voting Rights Act was signed by Lyndon B. Johnson that banned literacy tests along with other methods that were used to disenfranchise Black Americans. So, when we think about how Black pro athletes were allowed to compete for this country several decades before they were allowed to fairly and squarely vote, among other things, it's clearer and clearer why the athletes recently decided to strike, because they see that American society views them as entertainment and they don't take into consideration how their lives are affected outside of these arenas or courts or whatever they're in right now. And so they sat because they felt that they needed to eliminate that distraction, which they did. They eliminated the distraction, which is sports, and forced society to be confronted by the issues that are currently plaguing this country. In my opinion, host of The Athletic, Robert Mays, said it best. It's so powerful to see a team collectively decide they won't be used as an escape, because for so many, there is no escaping this. On August 28th, after a series of meetings between the NBA players, the coaches, team governors, the NBA and Players Union announced a plan to convert league arenas into polling booths for the November election. This plan also includes the creation of a social justice coalition that will be focused on a broad range of issues, including increased access to voting, promoting civic engagement, and advocating for meaningful police and criminal justice reform as part of an agreement to resume the playoffs on August 29th. Thank you guys so much for watching. This was not originally what I had planned for this week, but I think that is completely okay because what is happening right now is so important and necessary to talk about. So, now that that's out there in the world, I will see you guys next week, and until then, bye.